With version 1.3 finally dropping very soon, we have received some patch notes going over pretty much everything to expect and confirming a few things that were left out from the livestream, such as there being 2 banners in 1.3 which pretty much confirms Jiyan's rerun, the full details regarding the new fallacy of no return echo and the brand new 4-star weapons. So I'm just gonna briefly go over the value of Jiyan's banner in 1.3, along with how much value exactly does the new fallacy of no return echo and new 4-star weapons hold. Just before we jump right into it, would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more WutheringWaves content and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Now, kicking it off with Jiyan's banner, surprisingly his banner overall has received a slight boost in value since Yoo-Hoo, which I'm sure most players expected to be on the Shorekeeper's banner, has been confirmed to be on the second banner in 1.3, which will be Jiyan's banner. With this, I have actually seen quite a few people online not too happy about this decision. Now, I understand having to wait an additional 3 weeks to pick up Yoo-Hoo, and for those players that want Yoo-Hoo that already have Jiyan, are placed in a bit of a predicament. But since she is a 4-star character, it really isn't that problematic, as you can test your luck out with a multi or maybe 2 max, and if you don't pull her, it really is only a matter of time till you do pull her from another banner. Now, Yoo-Hoo aside, and as for Jiyan himself, I have already gone over his value in 1.3 in some previous videos, so I won't go into too much detail, but essentially Jiyan is pretty much still as amazing as when he initially dropped, since the state of content hasn't changed and it hasn't become any more difficult. Of course, there are now better DPS characters in the game or some that are near enough his value, but the one aspect that Jiyan is still unbeaten in is the ability to provide insane levels of comfortability with his Resonance Liberation, as he pretty much allows you to hardly have to think about parrying and positioning since he crowd controls enemies and literally auto parries with his liberation. So due to this, even though a character like Jinxin exists in the game, which is able to deal a ridiculous amount of damage, and there will be plenty more DPS characters being capable of outdamaging Jiyan, his unique liberation will still set him aside as one of the best DPS characters in the game. However, when considering other banners being the Shorekeeper's banner right before Jiyan's and Camellia's banner being right after Jiyan's, they will definitely have some impact on possibly picking up Jiyan, since the Shorekeeper is arguably the most valuable character in the game as she just has a ton of stuff going for her. Then with Camellia, she is definitely looking to be a DPS character that a lot of players I expect are insanely hyped to pull for. So with that, I am pretty sure KuroGames are going to deliver in response to the hype surrounding Camellia, meaning that she likely will be a very powerful DPS character. So if you are planning to pick up Jiyan, just know there are going to be some insane characters before and after his banner that you might want to consider picking up as well or instead. However, if you are dead set on picking him up, then that's completely down to you. Now moving on to something that has certainly been overdue, and that would be brand new weapons being added into the game. It was confirmed on the livestream that we would receive new 4-star weapons, and now the full details of these weapons, including the main stats and passives, have been revealed. And let's just say 5-star weapons have definitely gone up in value. Now I was hoping for, and I'm sure many players were too, for some more desirable main stats on these brand new weapons such as crit rate or crit damage, since those are pretty much non-existent amongst the 4-star weapons we currently have, along with a few strong passives. Now taking a look at the one-handed sword, it has an attack percent main stat, and as for the passive, it grants resonance energy and increases attack when casting a resonance skill. Now to be fair, there are a few good aspects to this weapon, such as the passive being solid overall, as it can provide up to 20% attack at max refinement, and it provides resonance energy on top with just a single use of a resonance skill. So even though the passive is conditional, meeting the condition to obtain the full effects of the passive is extremely easy. Additionally, the base attack of this new weapon is much higher than any other 4-star weapon alternative. So the drop off from the base attack of 5-star weapons isn't as massive with this new weapon. However, out of all of the possible effects that this weapon could have provided instead, like something to do with concerto energy or a slight buff in either crit rate or crit damage, they provide effects that we pretty much see on quite a few 4-star weapons we have already. On top of that, the attack percent main stat isn't that great, since majority of 4-star one-handed swords already provide attack percent. So the problem of there not being much versatility in regard to the main stat unfortunately remains. Now taking a look at the other weapons, they all have the exact same main stat and passive, so they are all pretty much in the same position. Now these weapons are a definite improvement from our current 4-star weapons, since they are pretty universal and offer higher base attack, but the problem is that these weapons are still not anywhere near the level of 5-star weapons, which is ultimately what you would compare them to, since you would need to see whether or not the 4-star weapon will be able to offer good enough value to be considered as a replacement. But unfortunately that isn't the case with these new weapons. With that being said, if you don't have a 5-star weapon for a specific weapon type, these weapons are pretty good as replacements for the 4-star weapons you are currently using, and since we are receiving a selector to pick one of these weapons up in 1.3, I would advise on picking up the weapon which you don't have a 5-star variation for which you are currently using on a character. However, there are still going to be a few specific 4-star weapons that are going to be better, such as the Variation and Autumn Trace, as they provide amazing stats and effect, but overall, the new 4-star weapons will be much better than our current 4-star weapons. So with that, I don't believe KuroGames intends to drop any 4-star weapons that are comparable to 5-star weapons anytime soon, which ultimately boosts the value of 5-star weapons significantly, and since they are easily accessible, it means it isn't that big of an issue, but it would have been nice to see some better 4-star weapons. Now lastly, moving on to the brand new Echo being the Fallacy of No Return dropping in 1.3, it has been confirmed that this Echo will be part of the Rejuvenating Glow set and will be capable of dealing Spectro damage. I assumed he would be part of the Spectro Sonata set from the way it was mentioned on stream, but this does clear it up and the Rejuvenating Glow set is the only set confirmed for this Echo, which means it will be quite easy to farm this new Echo if it remains to be only part of the Rejuvenating Glow set. But we will need to wait and see in game whether it is only for the Rejuvenating Glow set or not. Now as for the Echo skill effect, after activating the Echo skill, it will continuously throw a ridiculous amount of punches at enemies as seen from the livestream. Then it grants energy regen for the Resonator and bonus attack for all team members. Now clearly, and it was pretty much expected, this Echo is made for the Shorekeeper due to the energy regen bonus being obtained from the Echo skill, which is extremely valuable for the Shorekeeper since we do know that she requires a ton of energy regen to maximize the buffs she provides to her allies. So the Fallacy of No Return Echo does provide quite a bit of value to the Shorekeeper, since it will also make pulling for energy regen substats on Echo slightly less of a pain, and if you aren't pulling for the Shorekeeper's weapon, then the extra energy regen will definitely make a difference in achieving the 250% requirement. Also, the Fallacy of No Return Echo isn't just going to be good for the Shorekeeper, as energy regen is a valuable stat for every support, which does make it a universal Echo. Now when comparing this Echo to the Bellborn Echo, one key factor is that the Fallacy of No Return attack buff will be capable of being up for the entire duration, opposed to the Bellborn's damage buff lasting for 15 seconds but will disappear completely after taking 3 hits. So essentially, if you aren't that consistent with your dodges and parries, then the Fallacy of No Return Echo will provide much more value. Another major difference between these two Echoes is the Echo skill animation, as from what we have seen, the Fallacy of No Return does have a long skill animation, whereas the Bellborn Echo is literally instant. So whether you will be able to swap to another character whilst the Fallacy of No Return skill animation is going on, will be a massive factor in whether or not the Echo is going to be better than the Bellborn Echo, since I can only imagine it will be extremely difficult to pull this Echo skill off without being interrupted by the enemy, and it would take a toll on the speed of the rotation. So once 1.3 drops, we will definitely need to see how flexible the new Echo skill exactly is. All in all, 1.3 is shaping up to be an amazing update overall. The brand new 4-star weapons are definitely an improvement from our current 4-star weapons, but of course they could have been much better. Hopefully with time they will make them better, and even if they don't want them to be on the same power level of 5-star weapons, possibly introducing unique effects like increasing attack speed would at least make them stand out. Since if you have a 5-star weapon for a specific weapon type, there really is no reason to use a 4-star weapon. As for the new Fallacy of No Return Echo, it definitely does have potential to be an amazing Echo for all support characters, but it does depend on the sole factor of being able to switch out to another character whilst the animation is still going on. Lastly, as for our general, if you simply want him, then summon, but you'll need to consider the value of banners surrounding his before you commit. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more WutheringWaves content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also drop a comment down below on whether or not you are picking up Jiyan and just your thoughts on our brand new weapons. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.